metal containers and irritates your skin and eyes. Less than 1% of household garbage is considered to be hazardous waste. But nationwide, that 1% adds up to about 1 million tons of toxic trash every year.
The households generate more hazardous waste, or more waste with toxic hazardous constituents, than all of the commercial establishments put together.
I've been doing this for 33 years, and I see more hazardous waste out here than you can imagine.
Household hazardous waste creates a real danger for garbage collectors. One of the most dramatic accidents in America happened to Carl Kuhn in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1985.
We were throwing rubbish in the back of the truck, and we started getting a lot of smoke and everything in the back of the truck, and the men couldn't breathe, and then the liquid came out and got all over me, got on my clothes.
Now the wind's starting to pick up, okay, please?
The incident wound up on the evening news. Police evacuated a dozen homes because of the fumes. 8 people went to the hospital. Firefighters had to search through the garbage for clues.
They had a talk with the elderly woman that had cleaned out her cellar, and she said she had thrown out chemicals that her husband used to use in the garden as long as 40 years ago. When the creosote mixed with the arsenic, that created all the fumes, and we had to dump a load right in the street.
Many products have warning labels on the back. For example, cleaners with ammonia warn you not to mix them with a product containing chlorine bleach. But in the trash, you can get some unpredictable combinations. Here's quiz question number 2. Which of these chemicals catch fire if mixed together in the trash? Pool chlorine and car brake fluid? Ammonia and suntan lotion? Or charcoal lighter and bleach? Well, the answer is pool chlorine and brake fluid. To see just how dangerous pool chlorine can be, we arranged a laboratory demonstration.
Okay, I'm now going to pour the pool chlorine in. We'll take a sizable amount to establish what we want to have happen here.
William Lester is a chemistry professor at the University of California in Berkeley.
Okay, now I'm going to pour some brake fluid, small amount, onto the tray and see what the reaction is of the 2 of these items.
This experiment was performed under laboratory conditions with safety equipment nearby. Don't try this at home.
We're now going to do another experiment. We're going to take pool chlorine and mix it with a soft drink and see what this reaction turns out to be. Now think about that. Pool chlorine combined with a soft drink we might purchase and possibly empty halfway and then pitch it away. And if it should happen to come in contact with pool chlorine, what we'll see is that something does happen.
This reaction released a cloud of deadly chlorine gas. This experiment was performed in a laboratory and should not be tried at home.
I think in many instances people think they do understand what the hazards are, and all too often they don't. So it'll be very important to pay attention to this to see what kinds of consequences can arise when people are careless in terms of disposal.
There's a long list of things that experts call household hazardous waste. It includes just about everything you put in your car, like gasoline and oil and antifreeze. And things you use to fix up the home and garden, like paint and glue and pesticides. The list also includes things you might not think of, like oven cleaner and hobby chemicals, flea powder for your dog, even nail polish, and some types of prescription medicine. So far, we've been talking about the safety problems with household hazardous waste. That's not the only problem. Your toxic trash can hurt the environment.
Everybody throws anything out there, Just take it to the landfill and dump it, The worry is gone once it hits the landfill. And then we have to come across the stuff.
Quiz question 3. What's the biggest source of lead in U.S. landfills? Cans of lead-based paint, old water pipes and radiators, car batteries, or newspapers? The answer is C, car batteries. But this wasn't always the correct answer. Newspapers used to be the big source of lead because of the lead in black newspaper ink. Publishers stopped using lead in 1975. So now the correct answer is car batteries. They account for more than half the lead in U.S. landfills.
I mean, this is modern archaeology. See, you got shovels, you got dirt, you got sampling units.
The University of Arizona Garbage Project has been digging deep inside America's landfills to learn what happens to trash after it's buried.
Once the stuff is in a landfill, especially if it's been there 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 years, the container that it's in has rusted open or broken open or popped open so that most of the fluids, the liquids, the materials themselves are gone.
The liquids then mix with rainwater and sink to the bottom of the landfill, forming a toxic soup called leachate. Leachate can poison local drinking water if it gets through small cracks in the landfill liner.
We shouldn't be too concerned for most landfills that are kept dry. But if you do get water percolating through them, it's ungodly expensive to decontaminate it, and I'm not even sure that it's possible.
There are competing theories about the dangers of different types of household hazardous waste. Experts agree that used motor oil and paint thinner do not belong in landfills. But manufacturers of pesticides and home cleaners say their products pose no disposal threat.
Our products are a very small percent of our products being household consumer products are a very, very small percent of America's trash.
The home chemical industry calls household hazardous waste the little problem in America because it's less than 1% of America's trash.
That's very small numbers that you're dispersing throughout the landfills throughout the country, and indeed not affecting the groundwater through leachate.
Household hazardous waste is 1% of the weight of the municipal solid waste stream. But it is a large percent of the toxicity of the municipal solid waste stream. And toxicity is what will have an environmental impact and a public health impact. And so that is the reason why people are concerned.
Hello.
Dana Duxbury is a biologist. From her office in Andover, Massachusetts, she has sparked a national movement to collect and recycle household hazardous waste.
When you look at oven cleaners and drain cleaners, there are cautionary words on these products. I mean, if it's a concern when you use it, one might think that it could be also a concern when you dispose of it.
Scientists like Duxbury point to the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska to demonstrate that household hazardous waste is not a little problem. Quiz question number 4, true or false? More used motor oil is dumped on the ground, tossed into landfills, and poured into sewers every year than was released during the Exxon Valdez spill. It's true. Do-it-yourself mechanics dump 94 million gallons of oil every year, nearly 9 times the amount spilled by the Exxon Valdez.
You used to throw it on top of weeds and around the edge of fences to keep all the grass down, but you don't do that anymore. Oh, there could be a little bit of lawnmower oil in there, too. That's probably
Most people had no choice for their used motor oil until stores like Chief Auto Parts in Dallas developed programs to handle it properly.
We started the program really for 2 reasons. One was we did see in the horizon legislation that could someday require that any retailer that sold oil had to have a program to bring it back. And one of the things that we felt very strong about was that people would not recycle their oil if it was not easy. And since we had convenient stores and we had so many of them, they could easily come in and just drop it off. It wouldn't be a hassle.
In many cities, doing the right thing with toxic trash can be a big hassle. Here's question 5. What would you do if you were Steve Cleghorn, who also lives near Dallas?
Well, we just bought this boat about a week ago, and the gasoline that's in it has been sitting in there for about a year. And gasoline breaks down, you don't want to run it back through a motor again. So I'm having to drain the gasoline. And my problem was what to do with the gasoline once I got it drained.
What should you do with old gasoline? Mix it with kerosene and use it in camping stoves? Dilute each gallon of gas with 10 gallons of water and pour it down the sewer. Or pour the gas onto concrete and allow it to evaporate. Gotcha. This is a trick question, sorry. The answer is actually none of the above. All these choices are dangerous. So, what should Steve Cleghorn do? He called a service station for advice.
They said, just take out and dump it somewhere, just kill some grass. But I don't know, I think it'd kill a lot more than grass if everybody started doing it.
Cleghorn kept calling for advice and finally found the answer. He drove 40 miles to a company called Heat, which converts industrial waste into fuel and accepts flammable household waste.
We're doing a kind of a community service to hopefully keep people from putting anything into the environment that could cause any problems later on in the future.
So right now what we're doing, we check the pH of the material to see if it's corrosive or not, because we cannot take corrosive material. It indicates that this is neutral, so we can take this material.
Steve Cleghorn's old gasoline was mixed with other recycled fuel and burned at a cement kiln.
Go right ahead and pull on up here and they'll take it from you.
I love you this morning.
Some communities have made it easy to safely dispose of all types of household hazardous waste. This is Tucson, where once a month, people can drop off hazardous waste at selected fire stations.
My father-in-law passed away about 3 weeks ago, and we're cleaning out his workshop. And he stored everything, saved everything. So we needed to get rid of the toxic stuff.
More than 200 cars pass through this site on a typical Saturday morning.
All right. What, Steve?
Just batteries?
Just batteries.
Okay, have you used our facility before?
Yes,
Environmental hazards have to be disposed of properly, so we're taking care of them.
Tucson brings the waste to a central processing station. Here it's prepared for recycling or proper disposal.
Well, it's amazing what people will keep in their homes. What you'll find, people used to use mercury to clean out their gun barrels, to get the lead out of the gun barrels. They started bringing mercury into us because they just keep it in their gun cleaning case.
Hazardous industrial materials wind up in the home, and you don't think of this right away. You think of people bringing in paints and maybe an occasional chemistry set, but industrial materials wind up in the home, and as a result, they wind up here.
There's a growing national effort to keep hazardous waste out of America's trash. Several states have banned things like oil and paint and batteries from landfills. In Seattle, officials are even worried about hazardous waste in the city's sewers.
A single household dumping something in their toilet or down the drain, probably we're not going to see that effect. But in our system, we've got 500,000 households. If every one of those households dumped a cup of paint thinner down the drain, we'd see 37,000 gallons of a toxic organic, chlorinated organic chemical come through our treatment plant.
To solve the problem, King County, Washington, built America's first household hazardous waste mobile. It moves to a new site in suburban Seattle every 2 weeks. People can drop off their waste and learn about using non-toxic products.
We are working not only to provide a convenient collection alternative to people, but also to educate them about the choices that they make.
The federal government encourages programs like these, but is leaving the work up to individual communities.
Traditionally, solid waste issues have been solved at the state and local level. They always have been. And indeed, these local governments have the best idea of what the problems are in their communities and how best to solve them.
However, different communities are developing different rules about household hazardous waste.
And when you have to label for disposal in state A, different than state B, different than state C, D, E, and F, it doesn't take long before you can't really effectively deal in interstate commerce. And that has happened.
The idea behind household hazardous waste collection is to recycle as much toxic trash as possible. But not everything that people bring in can be recycled. That brings us to quiz question 6. Can these products be recycled? Yes or no? Household batteries, car batteries, auto antifreeze, pesticides, and toilet bowl cleaner. Car batteries and antifreeze can be recycled, but most types of household batteries, pesticides, and home cleaners cannot.
Most of the materials that are being collected today are being reused or recycled. A great deal is being sent to be fuel blended and burnt as a source of fuel. Some of it is being sent to hazardous waste treatment facilities, wastewater treatment, or hazardous waste incineration. And less than 5% is being actually sent to a hazardous waste landfill. And that's material that you can't do anything else with.
Now, what have we got here?
About half the waste that people bring in is paint, and it creates special problems. Quiz question number 7. What should you do with cans of old paint? Allow the paint to harden and place it in the trash? Mix the paint together and use it as primer. Donate the paint to a theater group or charity, or bring the paint to a household hazardous waste center. B, C, and D are all correct. Finding another use for the paint around your home is the best choice of all. Donating it to someone who can use it is also a good option. Many people bring old paint to household hazardous waste centers for recycling. But it turns out that bulking old paint together gives you a product that most people won't buy. A company near Boston is trying to solve that.
Solid color stains combustible, that's oil.
We want the product in its original containers. We don't want people bulking it on site. If you take it all on site, dump it all into a 55-gallon drum, what you'll get is a gray utility paint, whether it's latex or oil-based. The market value of that type of product and the market itself is very limited.
This is combustible, so it's oil.
The Green Paint Company has turned household hazardous waste into an economic opportunity. The company gets paid to haul away paint from collection programs in the original cans. With these free raw materials, the company can afford the labor to blend a more marketable variety of recycled paint.
Many paint manufacturers, especially the larger ones these days, are automated. To take something like this into their factory and reprocess it would be contrary really to their current procedure. It's really a different type of business when you get into recycling.
Some companies are removing dangerous elements from their products to make them safe for disposal. For example, many types of batteries no longer contain mercury. Environmental groups are developing shopping lists of these less toxic household products.
The consumer has basically been provided with a chemical for every purpose, and I think we've gotten a bit lazy.
Philip Dickey is a PhD nuclear physicist who works for the Washington Toxics Coalition in Seattle. He's using his technical training to investigate household products and suggest less toxic alternatives.
With some of these alternatives, if you do your cleaning more often, you can use a less toxic product, and I think the total time that you spend over a period of months may not be that much greater, but perhaps you have to keep up with things a little bit more.
There are dozens of booklets and pamphlets with non-toxic household suggestions. As well, many products claim to be safe to use and discard. Which brings us to our final quiz question. What does the word non-toxic on a label mean? The product contains no toxic ingredients. The product does not harm the environment. The product does not harm people when used as directed, or all of the above. The answer is C. It won't harm people when used as directed. Some products that say non-toxic on the label actually contain toxic chemicals, but in small amounts that won't hurt people during normal use.
I think consumers are understandably confused by products that have labels saying non-toxic, natural, biodegradable. Some manufacturers are beginning to put logos on their products that say earth-friendly or something of that sort. And some of these logos look fairly official, and I think it's a bit confusing to the consumer to make these decisions.
There are plenty of homespun alternatives to using toxic products, but some of the ideas are a bit far-fetched.
One I came across on a list was polishing your shoes with banana peels. I tried that, both sides of the banana peels, and didn't work.
I have tried some of the alternatives, even the alternatives listed by EPA in some of its documents. Some of them have worked for me, some of them have not. And that is the only advice I can give to people right now, is try them yourself, and if they work, great. But they do not always work.
And that's where we close the toxic trash quiz. The best advice seems to be, buy a non-hazardous product if you can. Buy only what you need to do the job. Read the labels. Use what you buy, or give the remainder to someone who can use it. And if you must throw out something that's toxic, do so in a responsible way. A lot of environmental problems seem overwhelming, but this is one problem we can solve if everyone does their part. There's no place where you have more control of the environment than your home.
Major funding for this program was provided by American Airlines. American Airlines, a natural commitment to the environment. Additional funding was provided by Phillips Petroleum, exploring solutions for today, tomorrow, and beyond. That's what it means to be the performance company. And by Sears, for the family Sears serves and the world...